Hello and welcome to the No Balls podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McDonald, with me co-host Finn McDonald. Today is the AL East podcast predictions and offseason recap episode. This will be a fun one. We'll go over all five teams and we'll give them grades. We'll recap what they did. The same song and dance. As you're seeing this right now, this should be going up on a Wednesday, and Finn and I are currently in spring training. We're going to New York Mets spring training. We'll talk about in the Yankees episode. Clay Holmes has been fun to watch in spring training. That's all I'm going to say before we get this one started. Finn, do you have anything on this division before we get started? And we're going to start with the Yankees because they won the division this past season.
I'm looking forward to spring training. And as for the AL East, probably gonna be the most wins per division this year. I see them all
I
getting 78 plus.
I could see it actually, Finn, and we'll discuss it even more once we get into it. Let's start with the Yankees because they make the money. They don't spend as much of it as they should, but that goes for all the teams. Um, 314 million from 2024 was their payroll. This past season, they are currently projected to be 277 million. So that's a pay cut or a roster downgrade, maybe downgrade of about $35 million. In doing this, here's what they added and subtracted. They claim Brett Hendrick off of waivers from the Twins. They claim Braden Shoemake, infielder, off of waivers from the Royals. They acquire on major league contracts. They acquire Paul Goldschmidt. They acquire Alex Jackson and Fernando Cruz in exchange for Jose Trevino. They acquire Cody Bellinger in exchange for Cody Poteet. Devin Williams in exchange for Nestor Cortez and Caleb Durbin. Max Fried on an 8-year, a lot of money contract from free agency. And that's basically they re-sign Tim Hill, who had at least gone to free agency. And they re-signed Jonathan Loizaga, Trent Grisham, those type of guys. And their big losses, Nestor Cortez, like I mentioned, the big elephant in the room, Juan Soto, but even more than that, Anthony Rizzo, Lou Trevino, whatever, he didn't play much last year at all. He might not have even played a single inning. Tommy Kahnle, Clay Holmes, Gleyber Torres, Alex Verdugo. Finn, on this offseason, any of these moves that you really want to point out before we get to their lineup and depth charts?
Fried was a lot of money. It was 2AD.
Yeah, ton of money. We talked about pretty much all of these moves because when the Yankees do things, it gets talk, it gets views. We obviously like to talk about the Yankees, and I we'll talk about it more as we get into the depth chart and the grades. But the Yankees lost more than Juan Soto this offseason, and I know for a lot of people, like, oh, we just lost Juan Soto. You lost a lot more than just Juan Soto, and the, it so much of the talk of the offseason is, did we replace Juan Soto? You have to replace Juan Soto, Gleyber Torres, Clay Holmes, Tommy Kahnle, Alex Verdugo, Anthony Rizzo. Sure, they could have done a lot of that very easily, but it was more than just Juan Soto. As we look at their depth charts, this is obviously projected by Fangraphs. Austin Wells is their starting catcher, Aaron Judge, their projected right fielder, Cody Bellinger in center, Paul Goldschmidt at first base, Jazz Chisholm at second base, Anthony Volpe at shortstop, Jason Dominguez in left field, Ben Rice, currently their DH because Giancarlo Stanton, like always, is hurt, Oswaldo Cabrera at third base. On the bench, Alex Jackson, Oswald Peraza, Trent Grisham, and Everson Pereira, not making his major league debut, but hopefully getting a big chunk of playing time for the first time in his career. Finn, how do we feel about this lineup? You could consider with Stan or without Stanton.
Honestly, there are some holes to fill, and I'm glad they did some of the stuff that they did. Like, I like the fit of Bellinger in Yankee Stadium.
I do as well. You know, at the very least, you're getting a guy who is better than Alex Verdugo was a season ago. Um, I feel like rather than a Soto replacement, Bellinger is a Verdugo upgrade. It's basically what it is. Um, how do we feel about their replacement of Gleyber Torres, Finn? Because I feel like Gleyber Torres gets talked down a lot, but Gleyber Torres is still a good player, and I don't really understand why he gets as much hate as he does, because it was a good pickup for Detroit, and he was an above average hitter as a second baseman in the past couple seasons.
Got big shoes to fill. Honestly, I wish the Yankees would have taken the contract that Detroit paid him.
Uh, Finn, like me too. Yeah, they had so much money and freedom between their current payroll and the largest luxury tax number, and Glaber didn't sign for a while. Um, I like this lineup a lot more if you're still playing Jazz Chisholm at third base, whatever, do it for another season. And then Glaber Torres is still at second base. I like this lineup a lot more. I don't really like the situation they have going on with Cabrera and Oswald Peraza at third base. Like it's just not good to say the least. And how do we feel about the overall strength of this lineup, Finn? How good do we think it is?
I'd say medium.
I think it's a good but top heavy lineup. Just like just like last year, there is a lot of heavy lifting being done by Aaron Judge at the top of it. And I feel like now without the Soto aspect, there's even more lifting being done by Aaron Judge. Goldschmidt was interesting, sure, to bring in. Hopefully Chisholm can recapture some magic. But in all fairness, like the Chisholm magic is, uh, that bottle has never really been very full. Sure, there's flashes in the bottle, but I'm definitely messing up that metaphor, but oh well. Um, but I do think that there's decent floors with hitters like Volpe and Goldschmidt and Bellinger and Wells. I think those would be solid hitters. So you ready to move to rotation, Finn?
Yep.
Okay.
Honestly, this lineup looks like if Aaron Judge gets hurt long term, the Yankees are screwed.
Yeah, I agree. Because at that point,
Yep.
it's like a worse version of the Chicago Cubs lineup from a year ago, where it's like, dang, dude, like where's the threat in this? Like guys are good still, but there's not super big threats. Rotation. And this is, what was the strength of the Yankees a year ago? We should also mention DJ LeMahieu's also on the IL for whatever that counts for. Currently on the IL for the rotation, Garrett Cole and Luis Hill. Two very good pitchers for them. They were their two better pitchers last year. Still, their rotation looks like Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman, Clark Schmidt, and Will Warren in the rotation, Finn. With it currently how it's slated, how do we feel about this, given that Garrett Cole might miss the full season?
I'm sorry. Marcus Stroman is not a three in a good rotation.
I feel like Stroman can do a little bit of work on securing the floor. I don't think Stroman's a bad pitcher, to say the least, and I don't think Clark Schmidt's a bad pitcher either. So I still think that there's some floor with that. It's just if Garrett Cole's not going to pitch this season, like, dude, we need Carlos Rodon to be good, man. Otherwise, this rotation is no good. Not no good, but it's just not the strength that it was a season ago. Will Warren, let's see what it is first before we claim anything great. He had a 7 ERA, not a 7. He had like a 5.5 ERA in AAA last year. Let's see some stuff first. Luis Heel will be back. I believe it's the same timeline as Mania. Same injury around the same time. Uh, so early in the season, hopefully. for Luis Hill. I mean, let's see what he does again. He had a great rookie season. Let's see a good second year out of him. Do you have anything else on the rotation, Finn?
Honestly, don't hate Stroman. He'd be a great 5, but he's a mediocre 3.
Yeah, I agree. And at the start of spring training, he was about to get shipped off. Like they were trying their hardest to send him somewhere else. Um, their
I
bullpen,
think I think Heel could honestly end up being a 2.
yeah. I mean, if he proves strong, yeah, 100%. Their bullpen, Devin Williams at closer, Ian Hamilton and Luke Weaver as their setup guys. Middle relievers are Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, Mark Leiter Jr., Yandris Gomez, and Brent Haydick. Haydrick. There we go. Finn, what do we think about the bullpen?
It's all right. I like the back end.
I think it's pretty good. It's a lot better if Clay Holmes is there, because contrary to what people will tell you, Clay Holmes is actually a really good pitcher. Um, since leaving Pittsburgh, his FIP's like a 2.7, but apparently he's horrible. Yeah, just it's pretty good. Devin Williams is obviously an upgrade over Clay Holmes. Weaver will be solid. I think somewhere between Hamilton, Fernando Cruz, Tim Hill, and Mark Leiter Jr. Like somebody there's gonna be good, like really damn good. Just how math works. I don't think it's like a top bullpen, but I think it's like a 10 through 15 bullpen probably. You know, maybe they creep up to 8. You have anything else on him there?
I like that I'm looking at here, and it's like I'm looking at 5 arms, none of them that I hate.
Yeah, depth to it. And then even more with it on the IL right now, Jake Cousins, Sky F. Ross, Johnny Lasagna. JB Brubaker too. Shout out to him. For depth guys, JC Escara on the 40 man as a catcher. Ronaldo Hernandez and Rafael Flores got non-roster invitees. Um, Dominic Smith in spring training, big league spring training. Shout out to him. Yorba Vivas is a guy who could potentially plug in the infield. He might end up doing it with their current third base situation. Rock Riggio's an interesting prospect. He was a 4th rounder a while ago. He's not super high in the Yankee system, but he could end up being something. Braden Shoemake, like I said, on the 40 man, they claimed him off of waivers. He might not make a big league roster, but his glove has always been solid to keep him on 40 man rosters. George Lombard Jr. making some noise in spring training, seems really good. I think he's kind of a sick prospect. They early slotted him, or not early because he's still a first rounder a couple years ago in 23, but they went ahead and got him. Andrew Velasquez, Sheldon's favorite player, is also a non-roster invitee, and Roderick Arias, another infield prospect for them, who had like a midseason just transformation to where he suddenly started making a ton more contact. Could be, if he transitions that into this next season, Roderick Arias could be a huge climber for them and potentially make the big leagues, as he's a 20-year-old right now who's gotten up to A-ball. Spencer Jones, everybody knows about Spencer Jones. Sure, he's an overrated prospect. He's still a good prospect. Brennan Davis, Dugalis, Ismail Munanga are all non-roster invitees. Christopher Familia, at least at one point, was an intriguing prospect because he hits for a ton of power. Hasn't gotten to Double-A ball yet as a 24-year-old. We'll see if it ends up becoming anything. At this point, it's trending towards no, but he still could be. Carlos Carrasco is on their spring training roster. Eric Leal, really good in Mexican League a year ago. Chase Hampton, one of their top prospects as a pitcher, currently hurt, but is a guy who, like, the head guy of the Yankee cutter movement. Brock Selviage was, I guess he was only a 3rd round pick, but he is also an interesting prospect for them, ranked 5th in their system. He's a starting pitcher. Um, let's see. Michael Arias, Clayton Beether, Yerier De Los Santos are on the 40-man. Tyler Matzik, Colton Brewery, Rob Ram. I'm not going to say any more relievers because I'm just going to say I'm wrong. I don't see anybody else that are super top prospects for them. That'll do it for their notable other names. Finn, do you have anything else on the Yankee before we grade them?
Don't.
All right, Finn. Do we think the Yankees got better in this offseason?
Mm. Yes.
We think the Yankees got better? All right. Do we think they set themselves up better in the future?
Yes.
Okay. I think my answer for both is no. I'm interested though. What is the answer for them getting better this offseason?
Honestly, I don't think they could have done much better after having lost Soto.
I mean,
Would have been
that's
nice to get
fair.
like a Teoscar Hernandez though.
That is fair, but do we think the sum of their parts is that they've assembled to replace Soto has actually done that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I just don't think they got better from year to year with their offseason moves, that is, at least. And honestly, for setting themselves up better in the future, I don't know. I could say maybe. I feel like if Freed, um, that free deal, I look at a lot differently now that Garrett Cole is facing out for the season. So uh, if Garrett Cole's back, that's a huge X factor for them, but we'll have to wait on that. Um, Finn, what do we grade this offseason for the Yankees?
I'd have to go a B minus.
Okay, so they got better. They set themselves up better for the future, but it's a B minus.
Because they did. I said those like by the skin of my teeth,
Okay.
ever so slightly. And a B minus is still a good grade.
Yeah, I'm feeling a B with them because I feel like considering they lost Soto, they did pretty good. Um, it's just they weren't. They also lost Clay Holmes, Gleyber Torres, and Tommy Canley, and Verdugo and Rizzo, who had a ton of ABs for them a year ago. They didn't just lose Juan Soto, is what I'm ultimately trying to say. They also lost Nestor Cortez too. So for those who are saying they got Devin Williams, trade Nestor Cortez in that deal, and Caleb Durbin might have played second base for them this season. Um,
And now it's time for the Baltimore Orioles, who increased their payroll by 42 million, going from 111 to 153. Key additions: Charlie Morton, Tomoyuki Sagano, Tyler O'Neill.
Pretty much.
Key losses: Anthony Santander and Corbin Burns.
Yep. And then once, do you want to talk about any of those specifically, Finn?
No, I'll talk about it as I read off the lineups and the rotation.
Yep.
We're going to the lineups now. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Cedric Mullins, Jordan Westerberg, Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill, Ryan O'Hearn, Ryan Mountcastle, Jackson Holiday. Yeah, really feeling the absence of Anthony Santander. Don't hate Cedric Mullins. He's not a 3.
Yeah. I don't. I don't really know why Cedric Mullins is projected to hit third. I don't think he will, but either way, you know what? I really don't hate the lineup at the end of the day, though. I really think it's still good. It's just, and we'll talk about the moves in total I feel like they went like the 80th. They took 20% discounts, right? They did increase their budget $42 million, right? And we give them credit for that. That's one of the bigger increases that we've seen year to year here this offseason. But that came at the cost of, hey, we just had Corbin Burns making 16 million a year ago, and we didn't pay him 35 this year. Instead, we paid these two guys $25 million, and we'll get to that with the rotation. Their bench is Sanchez, Ramon Urias, Keston Herstad, and Ramon Laureano. Finn, how else do we feel about this lineup?
Also, yes, I agree with you. It's a good lineup. But for the Orioles, now's the time to be great while you have Henderson and Rutschman. You're not going to be able to afford both of them.
Even more so Jackson Holiday too. Like you're not going to pay all three of those guys if Jackson Holiday pans out, which I still have confidence that he can at least be like a very good player. You're not going to have an opportunity where your very good players are this cheap ever again. And even Westberg and Colton Cowser, like those guys still have 2 more years making league minimum. Now's the time to spend the money, dude. And I don't know if now
They're
wasn't the
burning it.
time. Yeah, if now wasn't the time, I don't know what would have been if they wanted to cut cost. Hey, Cedric Mullins is in year 6 of team control. Y'all could have done the savvy move and gone ahead and moved him, and that would have shaved off, $9 million. But they didn't decide to do that. So this is not about intentionally smart thing because we'll get into it with the depth guys. They have the depth guys to fill in Cedric Mullins from the minor leagues. So yeah, Finn, unless you got anything else here, we'll move forward to their rotation.
Yep. The rotation is Zach Eflin, Charlie Morton, Gene Krever, Tomoyuki Sugano, and Cade Povich. Ouch, ouch, ouch. You can really feel the lack of Corbin Burns.
Finn's favorite word is ouch. Um, it's his go-to onomatopoeia, obviously. And Finn, I agree with you. No Corbin Burns hurts. Obviously, no Grayson Rodriguez because he's currently hurt. Obviously, no Taylor Rogers and Kyle Bradish because they're also both currently hurt. So they're missing a ton. Bradish should be back in the middle of the summer. Grayson Rodriguez could be back pretty soon, and then kneecap subluxation for Trevor Rogers. He had that injury in January. I'm not sure the recovery time on that. That's a pretty unique injury. Um, he's also an important arm for them. So this can be a decent rotation. It's just like, you know, Charlie Morton, was Charlie Morton necessary? Like I would have rather not signed Sagano and Charlie Morton and just coughed over the extra 15 million a year to get Corbin Burns. That's how I feel about it. Finn, do we
It's the
think
it's the same thing here that it was with Santander. Now's the time to spend money, and they didn't do it.
yeah. Santander didn't even get too much. Like he was like 19 million AAV. Baltimore could have figured a way to make that work, right? They could have, like I said, like they could have shed $9 million, shed Cedric Mullins, and called up Enrique Bradfield to get it done on league minimum. They could have done that. Instead, they're working with just not the rest. Like the rest of it just doesn't check out. Finn, I still think it's a decent team, and when they're healthy, I do like the rotation still. It's just they're only going to get a half season of Bradish. They're guaranteed to miss some time with Grayson and Taylor Trevor Rogers, not Taylor Rogers. It's it's good. It's a bottom half rotation for sure, and I like Eflin. I don't think Sagano, who by the way, Finn, you nailed the name, um, and Charlie Morton and Kramer, and I think they're going to be solid, but they could have had a lot better. Um, do you have anything else on their rotation, Finn?
Nope. Onto the bullpen. Felix Bautista, closer. Sir Anthony Dominguez and Keegan Hagen, setup men. Yanir Cano, Gregory Soto, Colonial Perez, Brian Baker are all middle relievers, with Albert Suarez as your long reliever.
It's pretty good right there. I like their bullpen. What about you, Finn?
I do too. One of those bullpens where there's just nobody I'm looking at it and thinking, why the heck is this guy in a major league bullpen?
Yeah, and like there's a ton of guys that I'm like, yeah, that guy's really good. So good work, Baltimore. Like I really like this bullpen. We can have complaints about some of the other things they do, but I don't think this bullpen's a thing that we can really have huge complaints about. Um, it's probably a top 6, 7 bullpen, maybe. I don't know. Do you have anything besides this really good,
I
or do you
don't.
want to? I'll knock out these depth guys then. Why don't I? Um, Everybody knows Samuel Basayo. He's 20 years old. He's gotten up to AAA. He's gonna start the year in the minor leagues, of course. He's on the spring training roster, but he will not make the major league roster. No other. Terran Vera, non-roster invitee. He's kind of an older guy who was an ex-prospect, hasn't really become much. Kobe Mayo made his major league debut a year ago, not projected to currently be on the roster. I think that's the right move. Let him destroy AAA even more. Really hits the ball. So shout out Kobe Mayo. Emmanuel Rivera is on a non-roster invitee. Le'Veon Soto, Luis Vasquez, Jeremiah Jackson are all shortstops who have made the spring training roster. Dylan Carlson is on their 40-man. Daz Cameron, Nick Gordon, Jordan Adams are all on the spring training roster. Dylan Beavers and Judd Fabian are very interesting prospects on the spring training roster. Dylan Beavers is a hit first outfielder, probably never going to play much center field, but he can hit from the left side. Judd Fabian is a slug first corner outfielder who can probably stick in center field, and him and Enrique Bradfield, who are both over the age of 23 years old, I think could make a major league platoon right now rather than Cedric Mullins for 1.4 million instead of 8.4 million dollars. So if they wanted to go the cheap route, they could have done that. They didn't do that. Vance Honeycutt, first rounder this past season, like actually like really fun player. And it kind of is just a repeat of Judd Fabian, but probably more athletic and probably more toolsy is Vance Honeycutt. So a lot of swing and miss, but a lot of pop and really, really fun defensive ability out there. Roansy Contreras is on their 40-man, pitched a couple seasons for Pittsburgh previously. They have more fun pitching guys. I know they do. Kyle Bernovich, he's an older guy. Figure it out. He might be something. At this point, probably not though. Let's see. I am not missing anybody, but I feel like I am.
Nate
Dylan Coleman.
Povich.
Yeah, he's currently in their big league rotation, so that is true. Yeah. Chase McDermott, fun younger guy. He's in the upper minors. He's currently on the IL as well. Dylan Coleman pitched a couple of games for the Royals the past couple of years. Non-roster invitee. Corbin Martin had been a Diamondbacks guy, came over in the Greinke trade. He's fun. And Nathan Webb was a guy who never stuck. But, these are guys that are on there. Not even 40-man roster, but spring training roster as non-roster invitees that are somewhat interesting players. Finn, that does it for Baltimore. Do we think Baltimore Orioles got better this offseason, Finn?
I don't.
I don't either. I don't think they got too much worse, but I don't think they got better. Do we think they set themselves up better for the future, Finn?
I don't.
I'd rather just have Corbin Burns. Sure, give me that $35 million for the next couple of years. Just put Corbin Burns on this roster. Finn, what do we grade this offseason for Baltimore?
They get a D plus.
I was feeling a little bit more harsh, Finn. I'm feeling a D minus here. Like, no, they get a D plus because at least they address that they're going to need some rotation depth. They at least addressed it. It's just, man, you spend $22 million on Sagano and Charlie Morton. Just cough up the extra 13 for Corbin Burns. I don't understand. Either way, Finn, do you have anything else on Baltimore before we wrap them up?
If they didn't get Tyler O'Neill, I'd probably be giving them an F right now.
I think that's fair. Um, all right, that'll do it for Baltimore. We'll transition now to Red Sox. So now we're moving forward to the Boston Red Sox, who, kind of similar to the Orioles a couple years ago, are in a situation where they're going to have a lot of players getting to the majors pretty soon here, and it's going to be really fun. I think they were ranked the number 2 farm system by Baseball America. They were number 1 if Roki Sasaki wasn't a prospect. Either way, a year ago, they had a payroll of $188 million. Currently, they're running a payroll projected to be $194 million, so a decent increase for Boston. What this looks like in player acquisition, 3-year deal, $40 million a season for Alex Bregman. Finn, we have not talked about that move, I don't think, at all yet. So there's Alex Bregman. Walker Buehler, a 1-year deal. Basically, the QO is the amount of money he got, except they did not offer him the QO, or he was not offered the QO by the Dodgers. A 2-year deal to Patrick Sandoval. The first year is it's very heavily backloaded on that one, and then Aroldis Chapman, a 1-year major league deal, a 1-year contract for relief pitcher Justin Wilson, who I was not aware until very late last season that he was still pitching. And then non-tenders, Brian Mata, Isaiah Campbell, whatever. Losses, or well, they did do trades, so I'll talk about the trades. They acquire Giovanni Moran from the Twins, left-handed reliever. Garrett Crochet, everybody knows Garrett Crochet. In return, they sent out Braden Montgomery, Chase Mydroff, Kyle Teal, Welkman, Gonzalez. We've talked about that deal before. I guess I'll now get to losses. Losses, they lose Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin, Luis Garcia, James Paxton, Nick Pivetta, who they get a comp pick for. Lucas Sims, Tyler O'Neill, who I don't know if they get a comp pick for. Danny Jansen, and that was it. So, Fan, do you have anything on these moves that you want to comment on?
Honestly, I like the Sandoval move.
We both talk. I've talked a lot about. We really like this Sandoval move, and as we get into the shape of this Red Sox roster, you'll understand why we really like it. We also both really like the Bueller move, and I see the logic in the Crochet deal, and I think it's crazy that they didn't give up one of their top 3 prospects. Yeah, you ready to move forward to the depth charts, Finn?
Yeah, and I mean, they did give up prospect. It would easily be another organization's top 3 prospects.
Yeah, Braden Montgomery and Kyle Teal are legit for sure. It's just they weren't excess, but they weren't the top of the barrel for Boston. That is. Depth chart currently projected: Jarren Duran in left field, Rafael Devers at third base, Alex Bregman at second, Tristan Casas at first, Trevor Story at shortstop, Masataka Yoshida at DH, Rob Refschneider in right field. That really just means Roman Anthony's going to debut as soon as he gets that extra year service time. Connor Wong at catcher, and Ceddanne Rafael in center field. Finn, what do we think about this lineup?
Devers, move your ass to DH so that we can get Yoshida out of there.
Please. Devers, And let me say this, whether Devers is playing first base or third base, I think his value is pretty inelastic. Whether Bregman is playing second base or third base, I feel like his value is pretty inelastic. If Trevor Story is playing shortstop, he's probably going to suck defensively. He'll probably be fine enough at second base. And they're going to have guys who are going to come up and be able to play shortstop. Sit down Raphael could go play shortstop right now. He just did it a whole last season out of the blue, basically. Like,
He wasn't any good, and I'm glad he's not there anymore.
yeah, he wasn't very great defensively,
But he
but
could do it.
he could be better with more time there. And Finn, if I just had to be honest, like the team gets so much better if Devers moves to first base or Devers moves to DA. I'm sure Devers, he's already got his payday. I don't understand. I'm sure you as well. We don't understand why Devers will just make the move because I don't think his value gets that much worse moving to first base. So there's that. Alex Bregman now is playing a position he's never played before in the bigs. That being said, though, Alex Bregman, I think, will be perfectly fine at second base defensively and will be one of the better second base defenders or players, not defenders. He'll be a decent defensive player there. The rest of this roster or lineup, Finn, how do we feel about it?
There's not really much that I did besides right field.
Yeah, which, like I said before, that comes with the caveat of, yeah, Roman Anthony's going to be there on April 20th, just not April 1st. Um, I still think it's solid. Rob Refsnyder is going to hit left-handed pitching. That's like his thing. He'll probably platoon with Yoshida once um, Roman Anthony comes to the big league. There we go, and it'll be fun there. And like I'm sure everybody's told you, the Red Sox have a lot of left-handed batters in their lineup. So I still think it's a decent lineup. It's not super great, but I'm sure it'll be decent enough, especially once some of their younger guys get to the big leagues. Bench, Carlos Narvaez, Romy Gonzalez, David Hamilton, Nick Sogard, again, they are holding prospects in the minor leagues, probably to start the season. I doubt either Campbell or Roman Anthony or even Marcelo Meyer makes the opening day roster. You ready to move to rotation, Finn?
Yes.
Current projected rotation, Garrett Crochet, Tanner Houck, Walker Buehler, Lucas Giolito, and Quinn Priester. Finn, how do we feel about this rotation for the Boston Red Sox?
I like pretty much every name there besides Quinn Fraser.
I agree, Finn. I'm sure he'll fill in innings for a little bit until either Brian Bayo or Cutter Crawford is to return, and then those guys will come in. Those guys are just dealing with soreness injuries right now. That's why they're on the IL. I'm sure they will be back relatively soon into the season. I think it's also worth mentioning because I completely missed it, and I should have obviously remembered it because I ranked him as a top 100 player. Weiler Bray is also on the IL, and he's probably going to play a ton of right field for Boston. It's not anything crazy. It's just the flu that he currently has. So for some reason, he gets put on the IL for that.
He should
And
get put on IL for the flu.
I don't know if it's the flu, but Fangraphs listed as viral gastrointestinal illness. There we go. Finn, I think this is a good rotation, to say the least. I think we'll see a full season workload of Crochet, and that'll really be the litmus test of how good this rotation is. I think Buehler and Giolito are like going to have pretty decent bounce back seasons, especially because Boston is now like at least operating intelligently with the new guys that they brought in, all the driveline guys. Why can't I remember the guy from Driveline? Either way, it's slipping my head. Finn, do you have anything else on their rotation?
Nope.
And just for the people who want to figure out where Patrick Sandoval fits in, after the season, Walker Buehler is a free agent. Patrick Sandoval is going to come back in the middle of the season. He's going to become a bullpen arm, and then he's going to fill in the rotation as soon as Walker Buehler leaves in the offseason. and gets a huge payday, potentially. Bullpen. Current projected closer is Liam Hendricks, Aroldis Chapman, and Justin Slayton. Finn. They have no idea. Fangraphs has no idea. Rest of their bullpen: Garrett Whitlock, Greg Weissart, Justin Wilson, Brendan Bernardino, and Michael Fulmer as their longman, who's currently a non-roster invitee. Finn, how do we feel about this bullpen?
Don't hate those guys. They need to figure out what's going on at closer.
Yeah, I think they need to get a real closer in the room. I think. Um, I think if some of their back end guys were like just a tick or two down, I would like it a little bit more. But it was a weakness for them a year ago. I think they did a decent job addressing it, but like it was. It's probably a little bit better now with Liam Hendricks and Aroldis Chapman than it was with just Kenley. But Kenley was better than both of those guys.
They're a
Not
Helsley
combined.
shooter.
They should be a Helsley suitor. I 100% agree with you, Finn. Um, yeah, just we'll ultimately see what it is. I don't think that they are by any means a bad, or I don't think they're a good bullpen really, but it can get pretty good if they just make some outside additions to it, to say the least. I think if you throw Helsley in there, I feel a lot differently about this bullpen. Do you have anything else on it, honestly, Finn?
Honestly, I don't.
Okay, because that was a good, honestly, exchange right there. Um, Blake Sable on their 40-man roster, he's there. Sebi Zavala, yeah, non-roster invitee, know about him. Nathaniel Hickey, bat first catcher, non-roster invitee. I don't. He could end up being a contributor. He's 25 years old. Played last season in AAA. Could be something. Um, Vaughn Grissom is on their 40-man roster. Honestly, I don't think that they should really give up on this guy. Give him some time. If it doesn't work out after this year, yeah, give up on it. Or at least give him a chance to get to the big league roster at some point. Christian Campbell obviously is a big masher. 22 years old last year, was like the best player in the minor leagues as a hitter at least. And yeah, he can play all around the diamond. Probably not great at shortstop, but should be a good second base and corner outfield defender, and can probably fill in center field. Abraham Toro and Nate Eaton are non-roster invitees. Blaze Jordan, it's a prospect for them. We'll see if the power ever becomes anything for him. Marcelo Meyer, he's been a top-ranked prospect for them. I think he's really good. He's gonna be able to stick at shortstop, I think, is the key thing for him. He's proven to be good enough there. The bat slowed down a little bit, but it's still pretty good. 2022 first-round pick Mikey Romero is an infield prospect who is pretty decent left-handed hitter. Double A last season as a basically a 20-year-old. Yolene Cespedes, IAFA guy from 2023. He is only 19 years old right now. Franklin Arias, young guy, got up to affiliated ball a year ago. He's there. Justin Raymer, switch hitting infielder, draft pick from 2023, fourth rounder. They just have a ton of interesting guys in the middle infield prospect wise. Trace Thompson, non-roster invitees, hit a ton of home runs in spring training so far. That's awesome. Roman Anthony, number 2 prospect in baseball. I think he's awesome. He's just gonna be the next Kyle Tucker. Miguel Bleis, big toolsy outfielder, 20 years old, played last year in high A. He's now 21. Let's see. This is a big year for him. The numbers haven't been great in the minor leagues, but it could turn around. Depth arms, Brian Mata, Robert Stock are non-roster invitees. Luis Perales was a guy who was Rule 5 eligible, I believe. He spent a lot of last year hurt after a really strong start. Richard Fix, John Winchowski, Cooper Criswell, and Hunter Dobbins are on their 40-man. Um, mm, Peyton Toll, second round pick from them a year ago. Fun left-handed reliever or starting pitcher, not reliever. Conrad Carson, drafted out of high school a year ago. They're letting him do the two-way thing. He's a shortstop and a starting pitcher prospect. We'll see which one takes off for him. Adam Ottavino, Matt Moore, Austin Adams, Sean Newcomb, Isaiah Campbell make up non-register invitee relievers for them, along with Giovanni Moran. Finn, you have anything else on Boston before we grade their offseason?
I don't.
All right. Finn, what would you grade this offseason for the Boston Red Sox?
A minus.
Yeah, Finn, I agree. You add and onto this roster Garrett Crochet, you add Walker Buehler, you add not really add, but you get Patrick Sandoval in there and you add Alex Bregman into the fold here. Like, I think it's just really good. I think it's a really good offseason. I give it an A. Do we think they got better, Finn? I think obviously
Yes.
yes. And do we think they set themselves up better for the future?
Yes.
And obviously they gave up Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, Chase Mydroff, and Wilkman Gonzalez. Very good prospects. I think all of them could be major leaguers. They rebalanced their roster because they had a ton of position players, and they rebalanced all of that into the pitching right now. And Garrett Crochet, I think, will have a really big year. And he'll jump up my starting pitcher rankings after that.
And on to the Rays, who cut $8 million. They went from 90 to 82. Going to the off-season tracker. Really didn't do much notable other than signing Ha-Seong Kim for a good contract.
They also traded Jeffrey Springs to Oakland. Main piece being, why can't I remember his name? Joe Boyle in return. There we go. Yeah. Keep going though, Finn.
They got Danny Jansen. They lost Jose Zuri to the Mets. They also got Eloy Jimenez. Let's see if he has anything left in the tank. Gotta get that hitting to where it's worth having his abysmal fielding on the roster.
Yeah.
Time for the lineups. Yandy Diaz at first. Brandon Lau at second. Junior Kevin Arrow at third. Josh Lau at right field. Danny Jansen at catcher. Jonathan Aranda at DH. Christopher Morel in left field. Johnny DeLuca in center field. And Taylor Walls at shortstop.
Finn, right away. I don't hate it if they can find a shortstop upgrade. I don't hate Taylor Walls. He's a decent player, right? But I feel like it's really strengthened if there's a good shortstop in this lineup. And Finn, like you mentioned, what did they do this offseason?
They signed Ha-Seong Kim, who
And
is hurt.
he's going to be back in mid-June, I think, is about the timeline for his return. I don't really hate the rest of these names here. Obviously, people are going to point out Jonathan Aranda's little amount of big league success. This is a guy who just barely had chances to perform at the big league level because the Rays have consistently been, putting out decent lineups that have a lot of depth but not a lot of high end talent. Even though that there are some high end talents there like Andy Diaz and Brandon Lowe and future Junior Caminero, who's going to be awesome. I don't think it's going to be horrible. I think the shortstop position is a big swing position, and if they can get something out of DeLuca and Christopher Morel, I think this could be a pretty good lineup. I wouldn't say right now. I would say it's great. It's definitely bottom half, but it certainly has the upside to be good enough, in my opinion. Finn, what do you think?
I agree.
Yeah. Hey, if Junior Caminero has like a 2020 Fernando Tatis type breakout, then yeah, this lineup's more than good enough. So yeah,
And
that
it's
that's
not even
that.
their strength, in my opinion.
We'll get to it. Their bench consists of Curtis Mead, who's kind of the same as Jonathan Aranda, just a guy who hasn't really had enough chances for the Rays yet because they've had so much depth. Jose Caballero, Ben Rover, who's probably going to play a good bit at catcher with in a platoon with Jenny Jansen, and then Richie Palacios on their bench as well. Finn, get to that strength that you mentioned.
Their strength is their six-man pitching rotation of Shane McClanahan, Dodge Bradley, Ryan Pepiot, Zach Patel, Shane Baz, and Drew Rasmussen.
How do we how do we feel about it, Finn?
That's good.
Please, guys, please stay healthy. Right? I'm looking at you, McClanahan, Boz, Rasmussen. I think Pepio missed some time
I
last
agree
year as
with
well.
that too.
Yeah. Josh Bradley's the only guy who was really healthy last year, but he had a good bit of struggles. He's up to like the high 90s now, sitting the high 90s in spring training right now, like kind of putting up some crazy stuff. I think this is going to be a great rotation as well, Finn. I think the six-man aspect of it is to keep guys healthy, and since they already had a ton of names anyway, so that's the rotation fit. I think it's strong. I don't think it's like super strong, but I think it'll be a playoff worthy rotation to say the least. Um, Whenever you're ready, we can move forward to bullpen unless you have something else to say.
Closer, Pete Fairbanks. Sit up mid, Edwin Uceda and Garrett Cleavinger. Middle relievers, Manuel Rodriguez, Mason Montgomery, Alex Faedo. Long reliever, Mike Vasil.
I think it's hilarious how Finn says Edwin Uceda right and butchers Garrett Clevenger. I think it's great.
That's what I say it was.
Clevenger. Um, Either way, Fed, this bullpen, I think it's okay. Um, I like Uceda and Fairbanks in the back, and Clevenger had a decent season a year ago. Let's see what they get out of Manuel Rodriguez. He could be decent. Same with Mason Montgomery. I think they could be decent, but like we have to see it first before I'm really bought in onto it. And then Mike Vassell was a Rule 5 pick, so let's just see before I call this a good bullpen. Since it's the Rays, they do get a little bit of benefit of the doubt. They always do. Um, let's see it perform first before I label it any good. What about you, Fen? Are you gonna label it good before some of the you know peripheral guys perform first?
Nope, I still need to see it actually perform.
Yeah, if some of their guys in the middle part of it can actualize, I do think it's great. Again, just another great Rays bullpen if that happens, but let's see it first. Um, yeah, you ready to move on to their depth guys?
Yep.
Um, on 40 man, Logan Driscoll, he's there. Tres Barrera, Dominic Keegan, Kenny Piper, and Ricardo Genoves are all non-roster invitee catchers as well. Moving forward, Ben Seymour, non-roster invitee. He's one of their three first baseman non-roster invitees. He's the least interesting of them. Trey Morgan and Xavier Isaac, I think, are both actually really good prospects. They should both be top 100 prospects overall. Xavier Isaac, a more power hitting guy, might not ever step foot on defense, but he has 35 home run potential. Trey Morgan is a hit first baseman. If you imagine Eric Hosmer, but you tell me he might be able to play a little bit of center field, that's what Trey Morgan is. He's pretty. They're both pretty good prospects, and hopefully one of them will play into a big league spot pretty soon. I think Yandy Diaz has potential to be traded at the deadline. just because they have both of these guys, and I think one of them will fill a DH spot at some point. Um, Probably Xavier Isaac, obviously. Uh, Tanner Murray, Coco Montes are non-roster invitees. Not much to them besides that. Um, Jamie Westbrook and is a non-roster invitee, and then first round pick from 2023, Braden Taylor is a infield prospect, primarily profiling as a second baseman. He's gotten up to Double A last season as a 22-year-old left-hander. Hits for power, has a good feel for hit, or a good plate discipline, not a great feel for hit, but should be able to be a great second base, third base defender, and could potentially fill in at shortstop is the Braden Taylor profile. Reason he's not even getting a chance to play shortstop right now is because they probably have the best defensive prospect in at the shortstop position in minor league baseball, and that's Carson Williams. And the thing is with Carson Williams is he can really hit. He's a he's a power before everything hitter, but it's produced some pretty good minor league numbers. He's a top 10 prospect in baseball from Fangraphs. I think there's potential that before he debuts, he could be a number one type of guy. And at some point this year, hey, if Brandon Lau's gone at the deadline, Hassan Kim moves over to second base and Carson Williams plays shortstop for you. It's really good. Gregory Barrios they acquired at the deadline from Milwaukee. Probably not a real shortstop guy, but light hitter, can stick up the middle at second base for sure. Jake Mangum and Cameron Meisner are not Rule 5, 40-man roster guys. Chandler Simpson, also a top 100 prospect, fastest player in minor league baseball. I think he stole like 80 bases in 2023 and like 70 last year in 2024. Awesome. I think the hit tool's good enough to get him to a big league everyday role. Colin Ledbetter, he looks like he can really hit a little bit. We'll see if he sticks out there defensively. Homer Bush, they got from San Diego. He was at one point a kind of fun prospect. He was in the Jason Adam deal. Hit first outfielder, might be able to make a big league roster at some point in his career. Theo Gillen was their first round pick this past season. He was a shortstop out of high school. He has not made his debut in pro ball just yet, but we'll see what that ends up being. It's a high school profile, so obviously no certainty to it. Joe Rock, I think, is a guy who can fill out a major league rotation at some point in his career. Gets a ton of ground balls, a lot of weak contact. Joe Boyle, we've mentioned him before. He is flamethrower. He does not know where the ball is going. He's been in two organizations that couldn't figure it out. That being said, it was Cincinnati and Oakland, so two organizations that are not Tampa Bay. So maybe they figure something out with him. Logan Workman, Cole Wilcox, Nandon Wiles, Connor Siebold, and Ben Peoples are non-roster invitees. And Yanni Couriet is a prospect for them who, is a top 100 prospect in baseball. One of the top prospects in Tampa Bay system, currently ranked 2 by Fangraphs. I actually didn't know too much about him, but he is a guy who's gotten up to Double A last season as a 21-year-old. Impressive stuff. Dylan Lesko got in the Jason Adam deal. At one point was the top prep prospect not even too long ago. He's had injuries. He's had issues throwing strikes. I think he can be a big league reliever still. And of course, there's never enough guys to mention there's always going to be someone who I don't mention who's going to have success with them. But believers, Eric Orzi was the return for Jose Siri. Hunter Biggie, they got at the deadline from Chicago. He had a bunch of success after that. Kevin Kelly was a Rule 5 pick. He really caught on last season. Mason Unger, Cole Sisler are there. And shout out to why can't I remember his name? No shout out to him actually. I can't remember his name. He doesn't deserve a shout out. Um, Finn, anything else on Tampa before we grade and do something else?
No.
Okay, do we think they got better this offseason, Finn?
Yes.
I agree. They just didn't lose anything. So if you added anything, you definitely got better. That's how I feel about Tampa. Um, do we think they set themselves up better for the future, Finn?
Yes.
They traded Jeffrey Springs, who was going to be in this 7-man rotation. They got a comp pick in Joe Boyle, who is a lottery ticket. Sure. Sounds good to me. And Finn, what would we grade this Tampa Bay Rays offseason?
I'd give it a B.
I
They got
was
us on
think
Kim and did nothing stupid.
I was thinking the same thing, Finn. B minus, nothing ambitious, nothing horrible. That's the formula for a B minus offseason. All right, so now we're transitioning to the last team, the Toronto Blue Jays. Last season, Toronto ran a payroll of $119 million. Now they're projected to run a payroll of $137.5 million. That is Toronto Blue Jays. All right. They spent money this offseason. Good job, Toronto. A lot of teams didn't do that. In this spending, how it ended up looking was they added on major league contracts Dylan Tate to a 1-year deal, Max Scherzer to a 1-year deal, Anthony Santander to a 5-year deal, Jeff Hoffman to a 3-year deal, um, 2-year deal to Yimi Garcia. He technically is just a guy who returned, and non-tender Jordan Romano. Um, that's essentially it. They lost Ryan Yarbrough there in trades. They acquired Miles Straw and an attempt to sign Roki Sasaki. So they took on Miles Straw to get some bonus pool money. They acquire Andres Jimenez and Nick Sandlin. In return, they sent out Spencer Horwitz. Finn, are there any moves here that you want to talk about for Toronto?
I don't get why they gave Horowitz away.
I, I'm not
They
too sure
really,
either.
they really bailed Cleveland out of jail when it came to that money.
On multiple occasions, they took on the Straw deal and the
And
Jimenez deal. Um, we'll talk about it. Let's get to their depth chart. Finn, as their depth chart currently stands, they are looking at Bo Bichette at shortstop, Vladdy at first base, Anthony Santander playing left field, George Springer in right field, Dalton Varsho currently DHing to get himself back from an injury faster. Once he's healthy, he'll play center field. Alejandro Kirk catching, Andres Jimenez playing second, Ernie Clement playing third base, Joey Loperfido playing center field. Um, on their IR, they have no position players. This is what they're projected to be. On their bench, Tyler Heideman, Will Wagner, Davis Schneider, and Miles Straw is currently their projected bench. Finn, what do we think about this Toronto Blue Jays lineup and bench?
Spencer Horowitz would have been a great DH option once Varsho is healthy at his in-center field.
I agree. I do think Springer and Santander are both gonna they're gonna argue between who's getting the DHing role. Know what I mean? They're both going to just sit there and be so bad for a little bit and the outfield, and then they're going to go to the bench, and then the other one's going to go out there and be bad defensively, and then he's going to go to DH. They're just going to alternate and do that probably. Um, do we think this team is going to hit enough, Finn?
I don't.
I think maybe, maybe. I don't like Ernie Clement necessarily getting everyday reps, but it's not the worst thing ever, and it'll probably be close to league average. Low Perfido, we'll see if he can handle center field at the start of the year. I don't necessarily know if he can.
There's
Um,
just nobody on this team, but I would bet the house on having a good season.
Yeah, I don't either, Finn. Even Vladdy, I don't know if I would bet the house on that. I think I would keep the house well away from that bet, actually. Um, and Santander leaving Baltimore, I mean, I don't know if I love that either. We'll see, obviously, but I don't think there's too much ceiling with this lineup. I think the big key is, can we please get a Bo Bichette bounce back? Like, please. If they do, then maybe this lineup can be pretty good. But unless that, if that doesn't happen, I don't know, Finn. Um,
Uh, if that doesn't happen, the Blue Jays might finish in last place.
Finn, if it does happen, they still might. Is the thing. They're projected. Do you have anything else before we get to the rotation? The rotation currently: Kevin Gossman, Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, and Bowden Francis. Finn, how do we feel about this rotation?
More, ouch. Not a fan. Don't know of anyone I would trust to be consistent other than Kevin Gausman.
Honestly, Finn, even Kevin Gossman, like the signs are kind of pointing towards some regression with him. Um, I feel like does the level of pitcher change depending on the day that you're facing this Toronto Blue Jays team? Like, do they just have what, 5 3 starters rolling out there? Is that what's happening right now?
And 5-3 starters isn't good. You need a 1 and a 2.
Yeah, I generally agree. Like, I think it's going to be an average to maybe slightly above average rotation if somebody hits on upside, but I just don't know how extensive the upside is. Like Gossman, I guess, is the biggest example of upside if he taps back into his 22, 23 form. Uh, but we'd need to see that, obviously. Um,
Like, this isn't Seattle. This pitching is not going to be saving your ass lineup.
yeah, and unlike Seattle, I don't think Toronto has an ass lineup. I think their lineups like maybe average. I don't know Toronto. I don't know where you stand. I don't feel very strongly on your lineup, but I do think that this is. I don't think this rotation is going to be horrible. At least I think it's going to be decent.
I don't think the lineup is ass either. I'm just saying, but if it performs ass, I don't think the pitching's going to be able to save it, like Seattle's might be able to.
I agree, Finn. Do you want to get to what might be ass though?
Bullpen.
Their bullpen, yeah. They signed Jeff Hoffman. Originally, we were thinking to fill in as a starter, but then they signed Max Scherzer. Either way, I kind of like Jeff Hoffman as a closer for them. He failed 2 physicals before he signed with Toronto anyway. Um, so Toronto still stays finishing in second place. Then we get to the rest of the Yimi Garcia, Chad Green are the other two setup guys. Nick Sandlin, Brenton Little, Zach Pop, Tommy Nance, and then long reliever Yario Rodriguez, who I think isn't too bad. Finn, I don't think this is a good bullpen. I think they're going to struggle to get to Jeff Hoffman. As much as Zimi Diaz had a good year this past season, he's 35 years old, man. And he hasn't been exceptionally great in his career. He's just been decent at times. I don't
Yimi
think it's going to
Diaz?
suck. Yeah, Yimi Garcia. Did I say Yimi Diaz?
I think so.
It's so weird, Finn. On their IL, Angel Bastardo, Rule 5 pick from Boston. Really, actually, interesting prospect, and I think he was left unprotected because Boston didn't think anyone was going to take him because he, is currently dealing with Tommy John injury that he suffered in June. So I would think Toronto's going to take their time and probably get him back in like September when rosters expand. And they're basically just getting a free prospect who had some interest last season before he had Tommy John. Alek Manoah is also there. UCL surgery, internal brace surgery, got in June, will be out for. most of the season, probably. Ryan Burr and Eric Swanson are also on the IL currently. Finn, do you have anything else on this rotation or bullpen?
With the bullpen, most Mets fans know you have to be able to get to your closer. Your
Yeah, you
closer
don't
can
want.
be the best closer in baseball history, and if you can't get to him, your bullpen is still ass.
Yeah, Mario Rivera can't get a ton of saves with Jake Diekman blowing games in front of him, so it's just not great. I don't hate Jake Diekman though; he's fun. All right, you ready to get to other names for Toronto?
Yes.
Christian Bethancourt, Ali Sanchez, non-roster invitee catchers. Not any like really fun catching prospects for them. Um, at first base, kind of the same thing. No like crazy first base prospects. In the middle infield, Michael Stefanik, non-roster invitee. He's kind of cool. Cade Doughty, 24-year-old. Last season, as a 23-year-old, he got up to Double A. Kind of a power hitting type of guy. See what that ends up becoming. He won't play shortstop ever, but it's Cade Doughty. He can swing the bat a little bit. Aurelvis Martinez, their number 2 prospect. A year ago, he's I think past prospect service time by now, but he still has 6 years of team control remaining on their 40-man power hitting infielder. Kind of developed a little bit as a defensive player. He could potentially play a little bit of shortstop, but should be pretty good at second or third base. Um, Also for the Manuel Beltre was an international free agent guy a long time ago. Um, Last year was 19 at A ball. He hasn't done too much yet. Addison Barger, upper minors guy, utility. That's about as much as I could say about him. Cutter Coffee, an infield prospect. Last season, as a 19-year-old, got up to high A. Had marginal results. Kasevich, Josh Kasevich, there we go. Contact-oriented infielder, might stick at short, probably going to play a second or third base. Arjun Namala was a really good prospect for them. He's their top-ranked prospect, a top 100 guy. Um, he was a first-round pick in 2023. Really showed a lot of fun stuff as a toolsy shortstop guy. Could potentially just end up moving to the outfield. He's a great athlete. Uh, Other Rule 5 guys, not Rule 5, 40-man roster guys, Stuart Garcia, Jonathan Clase, and Nate Lukes, all not corner outfielders, but all outfielders. Jonathan Clase, speed demon switch hitter. We'll see if the bat gets him to the big leagues. Alan Roden, non-roster invitee, could honestly break camp because he has a good feel for hit. And that should, for the most part, do it for their farm system. Jake Bloss, I think, got in the Yusei Kikuchi trade. I think if they didn't sign a couple of the guys that they did, he could honestly make their rotation out of spring training. He was at one point a top Astros prospect at times. Jake Bloss is really good. Ryan Yarbrough, Eric Lauer, Adam Kaufenstein, and Andrew Bash are non-roster invitee pitchers. Adam Macko, guy who's just gotten a ton of injuries. It sucks. Same with Ricky Tiedemann. Ricky Tiedemann at one point was an electric pitching prospect and was going to be one of the better in baseball. Just a ton of injuries. Sucks to see. Other than that, that pretty much covers it for guys. Nick Robertson, Josh Walker, Dylan Tate, Easton Lucas are 40-man guys on the spring training roster. Finn, Toronto, last team that we covered. Do we have anything else on Toronto?
No.
All right, Finn. So, do we think Toronto got better this offseason, Finn?
Yes.
I agree. Like, they didn't lose anything, really. They added Jeff Hoffman, Max Scherzer, There's definitely someone else in there. Anthony Santander. They had these guys. They're not like the top of the market type of guys that fans will obviously want them to add, but they still did add guys, and I think they did get better. Do we think they set themselves up better for the future, Finn?
Yes.
I think so as well. Like you're better off having those guys than not, but man, can we figure something out with this Vlad thing? If you're not going to extend him because his demands are unreasonably high because they are, then just ship him off, man. Let's do it. Ship him off. Um, what do we grade this offseason, Finn?
B minus.
I was thinking like a C because I think the indecision with what's going on with Vladdy is like the thing with Toronto right now.
I
If
said
they
B minus because if they got an extension done, I would give them an A.
Yeah, if they got an extension done, like this is a great offseason. But unfortunately, they have not done that. Do you have anything else on them, Finn?
I don't.
Really, really good offseason, I think, by at least adding talent. I wish they would have figured out that the Vladdy stuff. That's why it's a C for me. Okay. Division winner, Finn. I'm interested because I could not really come to a team. I do have one, though. Finn, who do you have winning this division?
Boston.
Boston. Okay. I had Baltimore, Finn. I think they're going to tread water with the pitching until Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez can give them a little bit more upside. And I think the lineup's just going to be really good with Baltimore. I think if this is a year in advance, I'd probably be picking Boston. And if Garrett Cole was healthy, I would probably be picking the Yankees. But I think, as things currently stand, I think I'm picking Baltimore. And I don't think it's going to be a high win total. But I do think there's not going to be a huge difference between the fifth ranked team, at least the fourth ranked team, and the first ranked team, because Toronto could actually go on a fire sale at the deadline. So, barring a Toronto fire sale, I think this could be a really close division 1 through 5 next season. I'm interested though. I want to hear the Boston fan.
The Boston take is honestly really like the pitching additions. I really like the addition of Bregman to the lineup. And they really didn't lose anybody that notable. Yes, they lost Tyler.
And Pavetta. But I
They
agree. I think they
definitely
more than made up
lost.
with it. Yeah. I think they more than made up with it. Um, I still think I don't know if it was quite enough to get them over with Baltimore. How many wins do you think Boston will have winning this division, Finn?
86.
Okay. I was
I
thinking
have
like 80.
Baltimore losing in a tiebreaker.
Fun. I like it. I was thinking between like 87 and 90 wins, but like no more than like 92 as the division winner here. I would be somewhat surprised if there's a 90 win team in this division. Just because of all the shit that's going on with the Yankees already. Um, because if the shit with the Yankees wasn't going on, where do you think the Yankees finish, man?
I would have picked the Yankees if Cole was healthy.
And like how many wins?
Like 95.
Yeah, I think so too, Finn. Along with the Gale
Also,
stuff.
I would have picked the Orioles if they would have went out and got somebody better than who they got to replace Corbin.
Yeah, but I still think at the end of the day, I do think that they're gonna just get by with Morton and Sagano and Cade Povich just putting up like a mid to high fours. Like I think they're just gonna get by on enough days to where they're gonna win 87 games and win this division. So, do you have anything else before we wrap this one up, Finn?
I don't.
All right, that is gonna do it for this episode. Um, next week's episode will be the NL East. It'll be our final division before we get our predictions episode in. As you can tell, my voice is a little hoarse right now. Um, there will be an NBA episode coming out in a couple of days. That'll be a bi-weekly recap. Hopefully, NBA film rooms will be returning soon. It's been a busy couple days or a couple weeks, so hopefully some short form content will be returning on Mondays. When that happens, MLB episodes will bump back to Thursdays, but for now they'll be on Wednesdays for a couple of weeks. We'll see you guys then.